Welcome to the program today. I'm your host, Neal Howard, here on Health Professional Radio. Our guest today is Dr. Peter Abaci, and he's going to talk with us about his latest book, Conquer Your Chronic Pain, and he's also going to talk about the Mediterranean diet that can help you drop weight and live pain-free. Welcome to the program, Peter.
Thank you, Neal.
Glad that you could join us here on Health Professional Radio. Now, you've got a brand new book out, Conquer Your Chronic Pain. Give us a little bit about your background and tell us why you wrote this latest book.
Sure. So I have been practicing in the sort of chronic pain field and pain management since 1996. And I kind of come to it through the anesthesia side of the world, but have really been working in a more comprehensive interdisciplinary setting with my center in California for many years. And what I found going back, more than a decade ago was that the way we treat pain in our traditional healthcare systems seemed very broken to me and just kind of backwards in how we were trying to help people conquer their pain, manage their pain better, and get their lives back. And so I wanted to do something about it beyond just the patients that I was seeing in my own office every day. And that kind of got me in the journey of writing books. And with my second book, what I think I've done is I've taken some of the core concepts or principles of what I have found to be most effective in helping people conquer pain over a period of many years and bringing forth sort of the latest science behind why it works and why what works and why maybe some of the traditional things don't work as well as we thought they did, to really help, give people a guide, that they can use at home or in their communities to seek out the right resources and do the right things and make the right healthy choices for themselves so they can manage their pain better and also live better. And that's why I wrote this book.
When you're living with pain, especially on a chronic level, how do you get into the mindset to even start to try and manage it with anything other than just a quick pill, a quick fix to manage the pain so that you can go on about your daily life?
Yeah, and that's what I do a lot of in Conquer Your Chronic Pain. So it starts with the understanding that pain, chronic pain is an experience. It's an experience that we go through. And our brains are always evolving and changing. They're these neuroplastic things that we have inside of us. And when we're experiencing pain, it goes through a lot of significant changes. And we now understand more and more about these changes. And once we understand all the different types of changes that we can go through on the inside that sort of perpetuates our pain experience, then we start to understand, well, what things can we do to undo that? How do we heal, what I call the pain brain, which is the changes, these neuroplastic changes that our brains go through, which is in constant communication with our body. And once we understand how to undo or heal these pain changes that take place that perpetuate our pain experience, then we start to relieve the pain, and then we start to put it in a box and get it in a place that we can control. But, it's not easy, and there's, as I say to patients, there's many layers to the onion. There's many factors from physical factors in our body to emotional factors, psychological factors, cognitive, attitude, thinking factors, our genetics, our environment. There's so many different things that go into the experience of our pain. And once we start to understand all these layers and how to improve upon them, then it puts us in a powerful position.
So you've got this, I guess your book terms the pain brain. And your book talks about a body-mind connection to change the way that we think about pain in order to manage it more effectively.
Yeah, and one of the interesting things about the pain brain and the changes that it goes through is one of the ways we can remodel our brain and change it into a less of a pain brain is through what happens in our physical body. So, for example, movement and exercise, whether we're dancing or doing yoga or stretching or, walking, all those different things matter and provide positive feedback to our brains to help it grow into a healthier way. When we're in pain, though, it's hard because we often don't want to move. We become fearful of moving, or we avoid doing certain things. And sometimes that avoidance of activity or avoidance of certain things with our bodies sort of takes us down a bad slope of not getting better. And until we learn how to overcome that and be able to move our bodies in a healthy and more tolerable way, then we start to feed that information to our brains, and it's one way of helping the pain brain heal.
Is there anything that we can do as far as our diet is concerned to help with pain, alleviate pain, or even change the pain brain, as you say?
Yeah, it seems like there's a lot we can do, and as one of the hot topics in science and medicine has been the gut-brain connection, and how what's going on with the millions of bacteria inside our intestines, and how that somehow communicates with what's going on inside our bodies and also inside our brains, and how that can have a huge impact on our health. And I think with anti-inflammatory foods and conquer chronic pain, I do talk about the Mediterranean diet as one good example, not the only, but one good example of bringing healthy anti-inflammatory foods in more abundance into our intestines, and hopefully changing the microflora into a more positive feedback loop to what's going on in our brains, and helping our brain move towards a more healthy place, because we know certain changes in the bacteria, the flora of our intestines, can lead to certain chronic disease problems like depression. There seems to be links with certain autoimmune diseases, and like rheumatoid arthritis and things like that, and starting to understand how a healthier gut leads to a healthier body in some cases, and a healthier mind, and ultimately decreasing inflammation so that we have less pain.
Does your book address the differing severities in pain and how to effectively manage them with and without opioids?
Yeah, I like to say that, when they use the statistic of 100 million people in the United States as an example, 100 million Americans experiencing pain on a regular basis. So that means, we're talking about 100 million different stories. The shoes that everybody walks in every day is unique and special to them. And the pain experience that each person has is a special and unique story. And how do you take all those different variations or variety of problems and come up with, plans and systems from a kind of a health and wellness standpoint that you can duplicate, from person to person? What are the core principles, that will help that each person can use for their own individual personal journeys that will work? I've tried to do that in Conquer Your Chronic Pain by giving readers some of what I think are core values or core principles to strive for when they're coming together with their programs for themselves. And I also try to lay out, I think, the key changes that take place in our emotional system, in our sort of cognitive thinking system, in our sort of physical movement side of things, and then, some of the other important factors that mitigate that, like food and sleep and, some of the more healthy lifestyle choices that we can make.
Right. Now, where can our listeners go and get a copy of your brand new book, Conquer Your Chronic Pain?
Well, they can definitely get it on Amazon. It's certainly widely available through Amazon and Barnes & Noble, and some of the large book chains can certainly they can get it there as well.
And in closing, talk very briefly about your website, painreliefrevolution.com. Yeah,
so that was something I started a few years ago to be a non-sponsored, there's no drug companies, there's no advertisements. It's a non-biased resource that people can go to just learn more about pain, but also learn more about ways that they can learn to better manage their pain. So some key concepts and things, and some of the new research coming out, be a place where you kind of get updated on what's going on, so that the readers can take that information and then go to their doctors or to their community health resources and say, hey, I'm reading about this, I'm learning about this. How can you help me do this or that? And so it's it's an unbiased patient advocate resource that we've developed that, we put great content out there all the time.
Well, it's certainly been a pleasure talking with you today, Doctor.
Thank you, Neal. My pleasure.
Thanks. You've been listening to Health Professional Radio. I'm your host, Neal Howard. Been talking with Dr. Peter Abaci. Transcripts and audio of this program are available at healthprofessionalradio.com.au and also at hpr.fm. You can subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, listen in, and download at SoundCloud.